Hey everybody, welcome to the SkillsHub.Life YouTube channel. I am Jennifer Hale, a 4-decade veteran of the industry. I was going to make an old person voice, but that's too predictable, so I'll go this way. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited. I am here today with the luminous Sara Cravens, who I adore, actress, force of a human being, and we have with us somebody so incredibly cool, everybody. We have Kevin Broberg, senior creative at Anomaly Advertising, and a very, very, very interesting and smart person, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear from him. So welcome, welcome, Sara and Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. I am thrilled. Kevin Broberg has been a dear friend of mine for decades, and this is the most wonderfully, he has always been, you know those people where you're like, they're always so wonderful and creative, and you're just, so when those people get success, you're like, yeah, they've always deserved it. This guy has always been writing like brilliant, hilarious things, and now he gets to write brilliant, hilarious things that everyone sees on their TV. The current Buffalo Wild Wings campaign with Hank the Buffalo that is all over the place. Kevin created that campaign, birthed it from the beginning, writes all the spots, directs all the spots, and does that for several other products that we can't really mention yet. But what I'm very interested in is like your side of the process, right? So we tell people all the time of like, this is how we audition and whatever. What is so interesting is like how you get it, because when you're auditioning for commercials, it's going to this guy right here. So when you picture like you're doing auditions, this is the guy that it's going to and is listening to it. And so I
have so much power.
You do? I would love for you to, and we'll ask more specific stuff, but I would love for you to just talk about like what it is from like your perspective, like when you get auditions and like what stands out to you and what do you hope people send you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a unique perspective because I come from the acting side of things. I've worked on camera. I auditioned for plenty of commercials. I did a lot of commercials. I did voiceover. So coming into this world, it allowed me to see a lot of things that I wish I had known back when I was doing that, because I think it would have changed my approach and perspective. For me now, when we get auditions coming in for a spot, I just want to see people be themselves and not try too hard and not try to give me the thing they think I want to see. I mean, they don't know it's coming to me because, at least from my experience, I always thought, oh, it's the director and the casting director, and it very much is. But I wasn't so aware of this whole side of dumb creatives at an ad agency like myself that are, yearning to make their thing that they wrote. And so they're, trying to get people in that they want. And so I just want to see people that are, like I said, themselves and are okay with taking that kind of risk and that approach, because ultimately, that natural side of you, your unique take on it, even if it's not right, is going to be better than anything you're going to give me that is, you trying to figure out what it is that I want. So that's what I want, and a brilliant performance. Be brilliant, Just be brilliant.
No pressure. I want to circle back to something you said that I find so intriguing. We were chatting a minute before we started recording, and you guys met in an improv group like years ago.
Yes.
And I don't think people realize how many writers who become executives, creatives and executives come from that background. And anybody who's spent 5 minutes around me knows I think writers make the world go round. You guys are everything. And without you, we have nothing to do. I want to go back to your time as an actor. You said things I wish I'd known. What are some of those things that you would go back and tell yourself if you were to do it over again?
That it's out of your control. Do the best job you can in the room and then forget all about it. Even if there were so many times that I would get a callback or I'd be on a veil and I would be just trying to figure out what is it that I could do? What is the thing that they're looking for? How do I, and it's so out of your control and it has so little to do at that point with your performance. You come in, you give a good performance, and that's all you can do. The things that are going to get you cast, you have the conversations that are being had behind the scenes are ridiculous and nothing that you can control. And the amount of people that are, you have to understand, you're trying to get 10 people to agree on one person. Like, try to get 10 people to agree on lunch. It's impossible. So now you have to agree on somebody to put in a commercial, a campaign. It's even more challenging. Maybe lunch is hard. And just to be myself and have fun. And, I'd go in and, I'd be nervous because you want to book it and you're trying to make your agent happy, or you're trying to get your career going, or it's got to be this, it's got to be this, when like it is really a numbers game, and you just have to keep going and just be you, and then forget about it and go eat something and have fun. Because really all you can do is just be yourself, go in and do it, and then get out. And I feel like so much of the time I would be worried about, am I going to hit this line right? How am I going to be funny in this? And just be yourself. That's all. I don't know. Don't worry about it.
I love it. And Kevin has popped into classes of mine before. And it's so awesome to have someone because so much of what I teach in commercials and teaching voiceover in general is about authenticity. Just be yourself and do what you want to do with the script, and never think about what do they want, because you don't know who they is. But here we have a they, right? And so then he comes in to my, the idea of he's the guy who's listening to this. And then he comes into my classes and he's like, please, I'm begging you, listen to her. Please have fun with this. Because what I want people to know is that when you're stressing out about who's the person on the other end listening to this, and they're sitting there on their computer and they're mad and they're looking for this perfect thing, it's this dummy that's on the other end of the computer. And he's like, please, somebody make me laugh. Please, somebody make this script that I wrote that I already think is funny. Bring yourself to it and show me how it's funnier than I even wrote it.
I'll get an email middle of the day if we're casting something. Our auditions are in. This will be at 3 p.m. By 9 a.m., have your selects in. Okay, so you have to understand that's going to me, that's going to my partner, that's going to our, ultimately we'll make our selects, send them to the creative director. They'll, we'll communicate, we'll talk about it. The director's making his selects on his own, and then we all come together. So, but at the same time, when I get these, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I have 4 other work streams going. I'm eating lunch, and I know that my 3-year-old's coming home in 2 hours. So I've got to see these quickly. And it becomes, I understand, having been on that side, how time consuming it is to put yourself on tape, and how, important it is and stressful it is. But you have to understand, when it comes to me, there are times I try to watch everything through, but there are times when it's I do not have time. I don't have time to do this, because I have to get these 4 things out the door, and I have to watch 100 auditions right now. So I will, I was always told, we know within a few seconds if it's you or not. Completely true. And it, you might sound like somebody I don't like. You might, when you write it, I hear it in my head. I know what this voice is going to be. I know how I think I want it to hear. So that's my North Star. Somebody might come in and deliver it significantly better. For Buffalo Wild Wings, we auditioned a lot of people for Hank to do the VO for that. And then Beck Bennett came in, and it was well, that's it. You just know when you hear it. And so a lot of times, unfortunately, it's just click, nope, click, nope, click. Okay, they're good. Click, nope. And it goes that fast.
I have a question about that sorting process. What would you tell actors to do to make those first few seconds count? Either one of you, both of you, what would you say to make those first few seconds count? Because it sounds like you got 1, 2, 3 to either open the door or close the door.
You've got a few, yeah. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it is quick. And I think I was thinking about it today. So when I was acting, maybe this was just me, I did a dumb thing that seemed, whenever I did it, it worked. I always got a callback. This was different because we were in the room, which isn't as often now, but I would literally, if we're in a lineup, I would laugh at the person next to, I would laugh at them as they were giving their slate. So when it comes to, they're like, what is this guy laughing at? Something's different. And it's literally that. It's just something's different. It's something, they're not, I don't want somebody that's trying too hard. There's definitely some people that are just really trying to sell me on them. And I don't want that. You have to think about in these spots, so much of it, you're prioritizing realism. You need to prioritize realism because, how many people do you see eat that's this is so good? Nobody eats like this. It's give me what is real. Give me what's real. And so, give me your slate. Give me a normal slate. Don't do, I don't know, have fun. But I don't know. I don't have an answer. Just be yourself is all I want. Be yourself.
Don't try to sell
it. Be yourself.
I have one. I think what I try to do is I think about if I've got 3 to 5 seconds, right? Like I've got 3 to 5 seconds. How can I be, and I know this is like frustrating answer sometimes for people, but I genuinely mean it, of like, I make my choice of like, this is what I want to do with this script. And in the first 3 to 5 seconds, I am the most me. I don't think about like, what is exactly the way that it's written. I really think about like, how would I say this in real life? Because if they're listening to this perfect script 75 times before they get to me, and then I just say it the way that I would, even if there's one word that I got wrong or missed, or I said it differently or whatever, I want to be like in this, and I don't do it on purpose. I don't change something on purpose. I genuinely am
doesn't
like,
matter.
Yeah. I'm just like, how would I say this? And that way I'm like, then they're getting me. And if I'm wrong for it, they're moving on anyway, right? And
Or you're saying something that's different enough that I'm like, okay, that wasn't right, but at least there's something there. So let's call her back and see what we can do with a little direction, you know?
And you just said something I'm so intrigued by. Because you said I might say something wrong, and you're like, it doesn't matter. And like, wait. Because we're going to have a lot of people going, wait, I usually go back because I missed a word or I messed that up. Talk about that.
I don't care. It's,
This is a
you might
writer,
be making
everybody.
my
He
script
says he
better.
doesn't care.
You might be making my script better. Like, I want you to make it better. So
And Kevin writes them, right? Yeah. Like, I think this idea of offending the writer, and listen, I think we're obviously different scripts are in a different space. Animation, I think that is very different because that's probably been worked on for 6 months before it gets to you. But particularly commercials, Kevin might have written that draft in 20 minutes because they had to get it out the door to audition. And so I think like really, really sitting with the reality of like, this is not some, scary person in a suit in an office. Like, this is a dude you'd be friends with that is just like, please, dear God, don't make it horrible for me to sit through listening to all of these auditions.
you're not recording it right now. We're not shooting it right now. So if you miss some words, if you flub it, that's fine. We're going to fix it when we shoot it. We're going to get there. So, and truthfully, by the time we shoot it, it's going to be totally different anyway. So doesn't matter. Those rewrites are happening. I mean, we've written scripts 15 minutes before we shot them in production. So, you get a note from client that's like, ooh, that might be sensitive. We can't say this anymore. Well, there goes that entire idea. So let's just write this right now and then we'll shoot something and hopefully it works. So in the audition, just be yourself.
I want to back up to what Sara said, because you just said it again. Kevin, you just said it again. And Sara, you said it a minute ago. I want to be as me as I can. And I can hear people out there in my head going, yeah, but listen, everybody. Sara has booked and been paid for thousands of these things.
Yes.
So believe her over the little voice in your head. Believe her, because how many commercials has that little voice in your head booked? Believe these guys. Yeah.
It blows my mind because every time like I teach a class or I coach someone on a commercial, I'm like, I promise you, I'm literally giving you the keys to the kingdom. And like, just open the door. And people are there. I get it. It makes you nervous because here's the thing. Everyone I feel like wants to do something right. They want to do what they think is right instead of just being like, how would I do this? And then just trusting that it's like, if it's your gig, it's your gig. If it's not your gig, I promise you, there is no amount of retakes that you're going to do that's going to make it your gig. So do your thing. And I think that this being worried about being wrong or like I have to do this right really screws people up instead of just like, I'm going to throw this out there and here's my idea on it and then I'm going to go live my life, because that's as much time as like Brobes is given. That's as much time as he has to give to the, to listen to it.
There's not, I always had this thought when I was auditioning and even coming into this world, like I always thought there's this magic something that they have that they know there's this secret to it. How do I get this? How do I tap into that? Because they've got it, they've figured it out and now they're working but there's not, you're just you've figured out to not give a shit anymore. Like, you go in, you give a shit when you audition, and then you let it go and you forget about it because it's totally out of your control. If you get a call back, somebody in that room, somebody at the agency, the director, somebody saw something in you that's like, well, that might work. If you're on a veil, many people in that room are like, they can do this. They're booked. It just depends on then what is the matchup of the people in there. What is the client thinking? What are they trying to accomplish? There's so many little things that play out. It's like you have people on a veil, and we fight about it. We have fights over who to book, and there's times that as an agency, we'll all come together and be like, we've got to book this person. This is going to make the spot. And then you go to the client side, and they're like, absolutely not. And you're like, well, it's time for us to have a little fight. And then you talk about it and you give your reasoning, and ultimately they win because it's their spot. But you want it to be as good as you can, and so you just like, it's out of your control. It just is, But I'm saying if you're on a veil, you've done it. You are good enough to book. You've done everything you can do. There's nothing you can change. There's nothing you could have done differently. You've done it. Unfortunately, half the people on a veil don't book it, but just know that you're there. So keep doing what you're doing because you're doing something right.
Yeah. And that's that. I used to play the long game. I used to just see it all as a long game. Every time I got to audition, it wasn't to book that spot. It was to get myself into the heads of the people at the agency.
Yeah. Which is so true. And I love seeing actors that I've seen before, and there's people that, for Buffalo Wild Wings, there's a guy that we've worked with a few times now that he came in and he was just great. And so the spot, I don't know, that was the spot that, got hacked 15 minutes before that we had to rewrite. So now we've, put him in something that wasn't as successful as maybe we wanted it to be. So we brought him back, and, we'll keep working with him because he always delivered, and he's great, and he's easy to direct and work with. And,
can you define that? Sorry, I'm going to jump in. Can you define easy to direct and easy to work with? Because we hear those phrases all the time. Like, what's the practical of that?
I mean, coming onto set and just, knowing your stuff, being professional, and then, being able to take direction. It's not, I'll use Buffalo Wild Wings as an example. We've worked with the same director a bunch. And so a lot of times on set, it's, me or my partner up with the director giving notes and thoughts and discussing things. And you can tell there's the people that are, aren't so precious about their performance. They're willing to hear the direction and take it and make adjustments and try different things. And that is gold to us, because a lot of times, especially if the spot is comedic, you want to be able to feed them lines. You want to, if Beck's on set and he's riffing, you want them to be able to respond to that and play off of that and not be so tight. So just having somebody that's kind and easy to work with and comes in and does their thing and then is like, goodbye, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm gonna leave.
Check your ego at the door.
Yeah. Because we're all figuring it out. That's the thing, is none of it, we're all figuring it out. We're on set, we're all, we've written these things and we're trying to get in there and make this thing as good as possible. And we're going to set hoping this works. And so when we're there, a lot of times we're figuring it out on set. We're, a lot of times it works out as scripted, but a lot of times, a lot of the spots we make, we figured out on the day. So
I want to jump in there because I think that's really important what you just said of we're all just figuring it out. And I think that's a huge, which I try to break this misconception all the time. I feel like people often think, actors often think everything's figured out. It's all figured out. The team that's casting, the team that wrote this, everything's figured out, and they're waiting for me to come in and do this audition perfectly, exactly the way that they hear it, and then that's it. That's the spot. And the thing is that I try to reiterate is everyone is working together to make the best spot. So all you can do is come in confidently with here's an idea I have of a way that this can work. And then you have someone else listen and be like, well, that's cool. I want to try that with her. And now this other person is like, oh, I like that, but I want to try this. And so if you always show up confidently with okay, I'll try it like this, that's what makes the best spots. And that's what I feel like it makes you great to work with, is because you're willing to show up and be a part of the team to figure it out and not just like, okay, I'm really nervous. I hope I do this perfectly and I'm going to say this perfectly and they're going to give me direction, but I'm so nervous. I'm not going to pay attention to the direction and I'm just going to do it the way I rehearsed it, instead of just being like, I don't know, that was weird. Did that work? Like, you know, and like that, we just figure it out.
Yeah, that's so true. You guys are reminding me of this story. One of the first movies I ever did was an HBO movie with John Glover and John Lithgow and Margaret Collin. And my scenes were with John Glover and John Lithgow. And I was so intimidated. I think I was like 20. And I'm in there and I show up. And for rehearsals, you know, I was just messing around. And I was like, my line was like, Chicky, you said we were going to get a margarita. You know, I want a margarita. And I did that in the rehearsal. And I went, oh no, that's not the right way. I messed up. I did it too much. You know, and then I go and I do it. And JG comes over to me and he goes, why are you doing that thing you did in rehearsal? And I was like, what? And he goes, margarita. And I was like, oh, I'm allowed? And I was like, oh, okay. And then I come back for the next set of shoots, like a week later. Everybody's walking around saying margarita. It like caught. And that's where I learned how important it is to stay loose and not hear direction like a correction.
Yeah.
To hear direction like, let's play, instead of hearing direction like, no, that wasn't right, try this. How you hear it is so important.
Yeah, and if, you know, I think if you get direction, like obviously if the director's like, hey, I need you to hit this marker, I need you to say this exactly, because a lot of times, you know, we'll get plenty of takes that are as scripted, but then it's like, it's pretty evident when it's time to start playing and start having fun with it. And, you know, I think leaning into that and being loose enough to be able to do that is so important and fun. And that's what makes it fun, is doing that stuff. So don't be afraid to, if you have an instinct, and even, you know, if you have an instinct and you're still uncertain about it, then just ask. You can always ask. You can ask questions. In callbacks, ask questions. Do you want me to do it like this, or do you want it like this? Or should I give you both? Give me both. Great. That's great. Give me both. And if you're on set, ask the director, hey, what if we try this? And if it needs to be a certain way and it's not that, he'll tell you. You know, but you're not going to get fired.
Yeah.
Unless you keep doing it, then please stop.
Or the client decides we want to go a different way. The client's like, no, you know, I really wanted blonde. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is such an interesting conversation too, because this is all about the commercial world, and how we come at the commercial world is different to how we come at the animation world or the game world or the film world or the TV world. They're all distinct in how you come at them. And I think people, like you guys were saying, don't realize how things move and change in the commercial world.
I mean, constantly. It's always, you know, we'll sell scripts through that, again, you'll shoot them, and then when you go to do, you know, if it's Buffalo Wild Wings, we'll go to our VO record and it's like, well, we're going to play with some other lines in this. We're going to do this. We're going to try different things. It's always evolving. It's always growing. It's always changing. And, you know, it's never locked into what you originally see, or very rarely.
Mm-hmm.
I think too, with like that of like it's always evolving. I think that another misconception I hear all the time from students is that, you know, that they treat the audition like it's the final product, right? Like, I've got to do this so perfectly because it's going to air right after this, when you should, in my opinion, actually approach them both very differently. Or it is very different than the audition. The audition, you're figuring things out and you're throwing your ideas out. It doesn't, in my opinion, not that anything is ever perfect, but like, that's the farthest thing from my thoughts of like trying to get something right or perfect or whatever, because I just want to be like, here's my idea on how I think I could make this fun, and how, you know. And when you come at it like that the audition is this place to play and throw ideas out, because it's not figured out yet. The whole team is gonna figure this out together. Then you get in the session and everyone's directing you there in a million different ways. And I think like once you do a spot or you've done a few, you're like, oh, there truly is no perfect take, because I just did this line 70 different times. And because we were all just playing to see what worked. And so then I think you get a little less precious, right, with your audition, and you're just like, we're just trying things, whatever. And like, I think that being able to show that to a team is so much more important than getting anything right, because what they want is someone that can roll with the, like, let's try it this way, let's try it this way, let's do, you know, that can play when you're in the session and we all figure out what works best together.
I was just going to say, to take any more pressure off of it, the reality is, at least in commercials, it's going to change again once we get into edit. So, we're going to shoot this thing. We think it's going to be this way. And then guess what? We're going to get in and edit it. And it's going to be 45 seconds long and we need it to be 30. So suddenly we're going to cut this thing in 1,000 different ways. And so everything's going to change again anyways.
So when I'm listening to you guys, I'm hearing this word, right, that everybody talks about out there. I want to get it right. I want to do it right. And that may be hard for people to let go of that concept initially. So what I would invite people to do is to redefine what right is. Right, it sounds like, is being the youest you can be in any moment. Right is let go of the outcome. Right is have a big life to go to as soon as you're done with this audition. What else would you guys say is the new right? We're redefining what right is.
I think you said it. That's it for me. It's just be yourself. It's so hard because I know, like I said, I've been there. I know what that is. I know what it is to hear that and to be like, that's so frustrating because you have an opportunity and I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to screw it up. So I don't want to try to be myself right now because this is the time that I need to book it. But the reality is, listen, things happen when you don't care, right? It always happens that way. The second you stop giving a shit is when you book something. And it's because you're just being yourself and you don't care anymore. You care, but you're like, whatever, I'm going to have 100 more of these and, okay, whatever. And that's when we're like, oh, there they are. They're genuine. Let's go. I remember a thing, Cravens, you said this long ago and it stuck with me forever. And that was collect your no's. Like, you don't want to go in and not book, but the more, if you don't get cast, guess what? You're one closer to booking. And it's so true. We have so many actors that come in that, I worked in casting before this, and you would have the most incredible actors come in and they would not book. And I was like, how are they not booking? It's because they're not just, to somebody, they're not right. And that's fine. But that tells you, like, it doesn't matter if you are perfect in your audition. You might look like somebody's ex-boyfriend or girlfriend and be like, no.
Yeah. Not right doesn't mean not good.
Yes.
Just not right for this one. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. I always call it kiwis and kumquats. We're making a fruit salad. We don't want kumquats in this one. We want kiwis. And if you're a kumquat, you're not going to be a kiwi. Just be the greatest kumquat you've ever been. And when they make that salad, they're like, get that kumquat in here.
Yeah.
Which sucks. It sucks. But at the same time, it should, take a lot of pressure off of being perfect because you don't need to be. Just be yourself, and that's all you can ask.
And I think that's the lesson in this whole thing. I think people chase perfection because they're seeking some kind of control. And that's the hard part that nobody likes to talk about. You don't have any.
Yeah.
You have influence over how you land. You have influence over how you show up. And you keep influencing enough in the right direction, and your boat will go right to the harbor it needs to. But you don't have control. Let it go. Let it go. Yeah.
And I think people are seeking perfection because what they really want is validation. Oh. They want to book the thing so that they can say, see, I am good at this. And what I try to redefine for people is your validation is when you send that off and you're like, I love what I just did. I love what I just did. And it doesn't matter because the control part, if I'm waiting for validation based on something I have no control over, I'm going to be miserable. If all I can control is what I send in. And if every time I send in an audition, I'm like, that's so me. And they're gonna like it and it's gonna be great, or they're gonna hate it, and it doesn't matter, but it's gonna be so me, and I'm really proud of it. And that's my validation. That's what it is. Every time I send something in, I know whoever listens to it is like, yeah, that's Cravens. And then that's it. That's all. That's what my job is. And then when it hits and it's right, then it's like, okay.
And they might not even hate it. It just might not be right. They might love it and be like, well, fuck, that's great, but it's, next time. We'll use it next time.
Yeah. And let me tell you, you guys, my first job in voice acting was in the mid 1980s. Let's just say that. Probably toward the earlier part of the 90s. And I've been doing this a long time, and I still seize up because now my life is so busy running, Skills Hub and doing all the things and parenting, etc. I stopped auditioning because I don't have half an hour to knock out this spot. And I coached with Sara Cravens right here. And she's like, really? Come on. And so now I'm like, you know what? If I got 5 minutes, I'm going to do an audition because I'm not going to make it so precious and try to get it right because I totally have the right disease. I don't anymore. I'm distancing myself from that. I'm redefining right. I'm going to go in there just to practice redefining right, not to get it right, but to redefine right.
It's like you didn't need you didn't need me to tell you anything or even
I needed you to
direct
remind me because we
What-
forget, you know?
You needed me to remind you
Yeah.
that, like, you know this, so just do it and walk away.
And
Like,
that's the
don't-
value of coaching, you guys. Let me just tell you. It's so valuable.
But
Yeah.
when people ask me in commercials, they're like, "How long do you spend on your commercial auditions?" And I'm always like, how long is the commercial?" And they're like 60 seconds. And I was like, "So 2 minutes." Because I do it twice, and then so maybe 3 minutes because then I'm editing it and sending it. But I don't edit it. Like when I say editing, I mean I sit down and I'm bouncing.
Chop off
it.
the
like
air at the, yeah.
the air at the beginning and the end, and that's it. And like people are like, and I'm like, it's not a joke. I promise you. Like,
Yeah.
talk to Jennifer, talk to our friend Courtney Taylor, who has been at my house when I've auditioned, and she's like, "You really do just vomit things out and then just call it a day." And I was like, sure do. And then like,
Because it's not about that they are. Look at Kevin. He's a good dude. He's one of us, right? Like he's just the dude. He's not some kind of thing in a suit. And I just realized this lately. There's this thing that happens, and I'm talking to, both working actors and the new people. We think about the room where it happens and what those people are going to be like in the room where it happens. And I've been around the block a little bit, and I've made my way into the rooms, and I get in there, and I'm like, wait, what? I thought you guys were all like up here, and I'm like, down here.
Can I tell you about our room?
Yes.
We have a storage bench that is filled with toys because we're a bunch of fucking children. We have a bunch of snacks. Like, we have scooters, not because we live on, like, we're in some giant thing. It's because we have races, because we're idiots. It's a preschool here. And so, obviously, we get our work done, but we have fun doing it. And you have to remember, like, those of us on this side that are making these things, we've written these things. We want them to be as good as we can. And we're going to collaborate with the director. We're going to collaborate with the client. We're going to collaborate with everybody on the team to make this as good as possible. Because if I sell a script through, that work is, if good, going to represent me moving forward. If it's bad, I'm not going to put it in my portfolio. But if it's good, guess what? That is my commercial to then show, look what I made. So that down the line, like, it represents me. So I want it to be as good as possible, and I want it to be as me as possible. So when we go into casting these things, I'm selfishly thinking about what's going to make it the best for me, and I'm going to try to sell that through. Like, that's what I'm going to try to push through. But yeah, we're not in I haven't worn a suit in, oh God, I don't know. Nobody in this office, if somebody comes in a suit, they will get mocked. They will get terrible. Like, we're back here with Nerf guns. HR is on the other side of the building because it's too ridiculous. It's a risk for us. So you don't have to worry about us being like, well, they better get it right. We're like, please make me laugh because, I don't know. I just had to sit on a call for an hour.
That's so important, though. It's really so important. And that's why I love, like, you popping into my classes, and just because it is, you get this vision of what you think it looks like in the room where they're, making decisions. And I'm like, it's this guy
on a scooter with a Nerf gun.
Yeah.
So I can listen to these and just eat while I'm listening. And then my child's yelling at me, and my dog is barking at the Amazon guy. And I'm just like, please, just somebody book this. Please hit this. Just do it. Just be yourself. Stop trying so hard. Nobody cheers like that. Just be real.
Right. Yes.
Thank you so much, you guys. What a gold mine. Oh my God. All right, we're going to throw this up here on the channel for our Skills Hub family. It's on acting.skillshub.life. We'll pop it somewhere in there. We'll let you know where that is. And you can always find us at acting.skillshub.life. We're there. Get in here. Book Sara. Thank you so much, Kevin. Somebody throw him a sandwich. And
oh my gosh, throw me anything,
It's like endless nuggets of wisdom.
Oh God,
like,
how generous. Yeah.
I've been there. I know. And it sucks. But the sooner you can just be yourself and let go, the sooner you're going to have success, because that's all it is. That's all it is, guys. Just go book it. Anyway, I'm going to go back to swimming in the ocean now.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you so much.